guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another Beasts of the Mesozoic Tyrannosaur Series Wave 3 release, as this time we have the Eotyrannus, and this is one that I was definitely excited about as well, but it is the final of the smaller species included in this line, as we only have two other figures to go over from this line. You can see again we've got really nice artwork, same type of box art as we always have. Beautiful image here on the front of the dinosaur, again really nice artwork. The species name, the Tyrannosaur Series, 1/18 scale, and the window area showing it off. And then when we turn it around, you've got a very cool shot of the figure itself, as well as the entire checklist of Wave 3, and then information on the figure and species that it is. So let's pop this box open and check it out. As always, we have the assembly instructions, like I say each and every time. Again, very important to read those before you go messing around with your figure if you are unfamiliar with these figures. Then we've also got the card, and you can see we have the same image we saw on the front of the packaging, sporting gorgeous artwork of our Eotyrannus. And then here on the back, you can see the species name, a little dino toy photography, some information on the species, and of course all of the other info, like who is responsible for the art and the Creative Beast Studio website. Absolutely awesome card as always. Very nice finish on that card as well. And then just like with every other release, we've got some stuff in here that you might want to utilize, like the connection pieces for the base to get your dinosaur to stand on the base the way you want it to, and then the extra feet, which feature different positioning for the feet and toes. And again, very fun to have that kind of stuff, especially if you are going to be creating some dioramas. On top of that, we have our base. Now, this base is actually the exact same base that we had for the Morose Intrepidus, but it's just a bit of a different coloration, as the Morose was a much darker tone. This has much lighter tones of color. And the star of the show, our Eotyrannus itself. And again, really nice looking, as I expected it to be, but I actually really quite like the colors of this one, like way more than I was expecting to. I feel like the colors are extremely nice and naturalistic on this figure as a whole, and they definitely did a very good job of course, applying the coloration, but I'm just really impressed with how nice and natural in hand the colors look on this one. So, as always, let's jump to a closer look and we'll check it out from there. Starting up here at the head sculpt of our Eotyrannus, you can see it has a very nice looking head sculpt, as well as, again, some perfectly precise paintwork. We've got some nice yellowish tones here in the snout, but you can also see kind of like a maybe like a light reddish wash that's been applied, helping to highlight some of that detail. We also have a darker tone moving over the tip of the snout. You can see the nostrils, the skin texture looks really nice. As we lead back closer to the eye, we do pick up some nice feathering. We've got a white that kind of runs up and over, then you have a black that runs through the eye area and leads back. We have kind of like a like an orangish sort of variation of color for the eye with a nice black pupil, definitely shining very realistically. Of course, we also have a articulated jaw, and you can see the articulated jaw opens up nice and wide. We've got a darker variation of like a reddish tone or a pinkish tone in there. Nice gloss coat, of course. You can see the detail looks great on the inside. On the upper side, the teeth all look very nice as well. The paintwork of the Beasts of the Mesozoic figures is always so impressive, if you ask me. They just do such a great job continuously, and you can really see that David cares so much about the product that he puts out. He makes sure it looks as perfect as possible. Up here on the top of the head, you can see a little bit, if my camera would focus on, a little bit of like a reddish or a brownish tone kind of showing up in those feathers up there on the top of the head. The feathers look great as well. You can see they are extremely crisp and highly detailed. We've got a little variation of brown moving back here as you lead back from the face as well. Then leading down into the neck, you see more of that brown kind of run down. It's sort of outlined by the black. You've got a little bit of a white tone here on the underside of the throat that seems to disappear pretty quickly, actually. And then you've got a reddish brown moving down along up here, and you can see it kind of pick up right here as well. Moving down, of course, you have a spot of articulation right here, and that spot is on a swivel, so that gives you lots of posability for that head and neck. Again, extremely, extremely nice looking posability for that area of the dinosaur. And then, of course, you've also got this spot here, which adds a little bit of extra movement and turning ability for the Eotyrannus. And one thing about this figure, and quite a few of the other figures that are in this size range, is some of them share similar body parts. Like you can see that the body itself, as well as the legs and arms, I believe, are the same as what we had seen on our Morose. So there's not really going to be anything different when it comes to the detail of those areas. But you can see we've got this black that runs down and almost like scatters out. It looks really cool the way that they designed that coloration right there. We have more of the reddish brown kind of running down, and I like that the reddish brown starts to pick up here, and as it leads out it just becomes bigger and bigger and then overtakes almost the entire body, moving back from that point. We do have a lighter tone here that kind of runs through, kind of like a light brown, and you've got some more of the blacks kind of spotting in there. You have more of the reddish brown moving up with some more black spots in there. You've got a little white, as well as again the reddish brown and this lighter orangish brown kind of meshing together as you move down there into the lower part of the stomach. Moving down into the arms, you have that reddish brown moving down, but then you have a dark black that sort of overtakes the arm halfway down through this point here, and then you can see a nice glossy black for the nails. We've also got a yellow for the undersides of the hands, and then a white tone running down along the undersides of the arms. The articulation is definitely the same on this one in pretty much every area as most of the other smaller figures that you find in this line. You've got the arm articulation here in the shoulder that moves forward and back very nicely. Also has a little mobility out away from the body. You've got the elbow, which is probably going to be, yes, very stiff. Oh, there we go. We at least got it to move so we can kind of swivel it. And you can see, obviously, the inside of that area is a white, so that stands out a little bit, I would say, more than I would like it to. But you can also see the wrist, again, moves forward and back and also swivels. The elbow is just really stiff right now. We'll break it in eventually, but it's not moving a whole lot right now. But again, very nice articulation. You also have the midsection articulation right here, which again, there's not a whole lot you can do with it, but it does have a little bit of posability. As you move back, you can see we've got some more of that black running down the front of the thigh, as well as a little bit of that white kind of running off of the back of the thigh, moving down into the back of the calf, and actually running down under that part, as you lead down into the skin texture of the dinosaur, again, where the feathers sort of taper away. You can see that there is a little variation of color, actually, to the reddish brown tones as well, which is, the same thing through the entire figure. But as you move down, you've got, again, a bit of a yellowish tone with sort of like that reddish brown kind of applied in like a wash-like fashion to the legs and feet. We've got a nice glossy black again for the nails. The dew claws are painted absolutely perfect paintwork, of course. And then you lead up, you've got another area of articulation here in the tail, which can go left and right, up and down, and of course is a wire tail. Now the tail is different from the Morose we had recently taken a look at, because as you move out you have a very nice display of plumage out here with the tail feathers on the tip of the tail. Definitely gets a bit wider than what we saw with the Morose, and you can see a pretty cool design and pattern as you move out there with some lighter tones, and then of course a darker tone outlining the outer edge of the tail. And then you've got some orangish browns here on the underside of the tail, and you can really see how good the actual sculpt work looks right there, because it's so light it really shows off how impressive the fine detail is. And then you have a lighter tone that moves along here before transitioning back again to that reddish brown moving up, and it's very, very nicely done, honestly, just like every one of these figures always are. There's just so much paintwork and so much incredible sculpt included in these that you really can't help but just be in awe when you finally get a new one. And the base, again, is exactly as the Morose base was, just painted very differently as we have much lighter tones. If I actually grab the base for the Morose, you take a look at it, you can see, again, definitely the same base, just very different paintwork. But that means the base is also really nice, just like it was for the Morose. And just like I did for the Morose, I just wanted to show you guys that our Eotyrannus can stand completely on its own. It does not need the pieces for the base to kind of hold it up, those connection pieces. It can stand entirely on its own, but you can, of course, use the pieces for the base for extra stability. As far as a length goes, I'd say about a little under 8¼ inches, or around 20.5 centimeters, maybe approaching 21. A little hard probably for you to see in your position, But for the size, the height, in the position it's currently in, just shy of 3 inches or 7.5 centimeters. But of course, the height can vary drastically depending on the way you position your figure. So that's really up to you. Again, I don't really feel like we need very many comparisons. And in fact, outside of one comparison, I don't think we need any, because if we actually bring in our Morose that we had just recently reviewed, you can see that the size is exactly the same for these two figures. So again, I don't feel like we need to give us any more, size comparisons or anything. It's just pretty much beating a dead horse, as the saying goes at this point. So again, another beautiful Beasts of the Mesozoic figure, another very cool species that we don't get very often. The Eotyrannus that we have in this line is gorgeous, honestly. The sculpt is exceptional, as it always is, sporting very nice feathers through the course of the entire body. And again, the exact type of feathering I would expect us to see on a dinosaur like this. And again, it is as highly detailed as you are going to find. And without a doubt, as far as I can recall, it's the best Eotyrannus that we have on the market. I can't think of anybody that has one out that can even compete with this one. On top of that, the paintwork is fantastic. Again, it might be one of my favorites when it comes to these smaller figures, when it comes to the actual paintwork itself, because the overall design they've come up with looks so natural on this, and very flashy, but very natural. Just as a whole, it's one of those very appealing looking paint schemes that you can look at and be like, yeah, that would definitely be the type of color this dinosaur would be. So very good job as far as the paint job goes, as well as the actual paint apps. They're also very nicely done, super smooth, really nice dry brushing and washes used to really highlight the detail in the best way possible, and again, transition the colors very smoothly. And then of course, you've got tons of articulation, as you always do, sporting all the same type of articulation we know and love for the Beasts of the Mesozoic, and a very nice base to go with it. So if you are interested in grabbing yourself one of these Eotyrannus, head to the link in the description, go grab yourself one from the Creative Beast Studio website right now, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.